This video is to go over close rate in ProLine, how it's calculated, why it's calculated, the way it's calculated, and what that means. So let's go through this. We're going to go down to here in inside of the sales dashboard. This is the primary place that sales close rate will be displayed. It's also displayed here on the leaderboard for performance. So you have close rate right here. And we can do, so we'll do lifetime and look at, so we'll run just as we have some numbers here. All right, so close rate. What is close rate? Close rate is one of the primary metrics by which sales performance is determined for a sales team or sales reps. It is the percentage of opportunities for a given period that are closed by that member of the team. And with that being the definition, there's only one correct calculation for close rate, and that is you take the number of opportunities, leads essentially, that became sold jobs for a given period. So like we'll say for the past month, all of the projects that became open opportunities, out of that number, how many were sold? That you take, so you take that number and then you divide that by the total number of open opportunities. What this gives you is a percentage that represents how effective, and if you're doing this on like a per rep basis, this will tell you how effective that individual rep is at closing the opportunities that are given to them. The beauty of the close rate is that this number can be compared across your entire team for a single given period, regardless of any past history. So say you have 10 people on your sales team and each one of them started 1 month apart. So you got someone that was there for 12 months in your company, and then you got someone that's only been there for a couple months. You can look at their close rate for the previous 30 days and it will be completely comparable between them. You can compare each rep and you can judge them against each other by looking at, for that past 30 days, all the opportunities that came in during that period, how effective, what was the percentage of that number that they closed. And so regardless of whether they were there 12 months or 10 months or 8 months or whatever it is, all of them, you're looking at the same period. Where this gets confusing and where a lot of companies end up miscalculating close rate is that instead of only looking at the opportunities in the current period that then became sold, they look at all sold jobs in the given period. So if you sell 10 jobs in the period, they're then dividing that by the total number of opportunities, and they're getting an arbitrarily wild number, because what can happen is if you do it that way, if you look at all jobs that were sold in a given period, what you end up with is you have jobs that were sold months prior that are then getting included in the calculation for the current month's close rate. So that means you no longer are able to compare the different members of your team anymore, because if you're doing that, then the person that's been there 12 months, well, they're going to have a huge advantage because they've been selling jobs or lining up opportunities this whole time. So maybe they sent someone a quote 12 months prior and that person finally closed. Now that's being included in the current month's close rate. And of course, like the pushback on that is like, well, shouldn't it be like it is a close? Like, what close rate would that affect? And the answer is it would affect the close rate for that 12 months prior. So yes, it is. Every single sale factors into your close rate, but that close rate, it factors in to the close rate in the period in which the opportunity was created, not the period in which it was sold. And that's absolutely critical if you want to be able to compare, which is the whole point of close rate. You want to be able to compare sales sales performance across different members of your team, or compare your sales performance as an organization against other organizations. Now, if you do want a broader look at close rate and you want to see not just for like the last 30 days, but you want to see, you want to include, say, those sales that became opportunities 12 months ago that are in the current month. You can do that by selecting a lifetime or past 12-month look at the close rate. So by doing that, you can then, like, you can make the period longer, and then you can look at overall close rate for that period. So that allows you to factor in all of those sales. If you want all the sales in your given period to count towards your close rate, you have to look at the broader period. So that way you're properly attributing and comparing all of those opportunities against all the sales. But the key here is the correct calculation for sales close rate. So this one is looking on the sales report, is looking more at the organization, but you can filter down to specific team members or even specific lead sources or specific types of work, and look at how that affects close rate down here on this number. But if you are, and this is the most common setup, just looking at, say, this month's close rate, and you want to see who's my top sales rep, who's performing best on my team regarding close rate, you can do that by looking at the last 30 days, but the only sales that you can then include in that calculation are going to be sales that occurred on opportunities that became opportunities since 30 days ago. And so that what you're going to see is that when you're looking at the past 30 days, even if your sales reps are crushing it on sales, close rate's going to be fairly low. It's because close rate's not calculated off all the sales you made. It's calculated only on the sales that were made on opportunities in the given period. So you're going to see a more accurate calculation for close rate if you're looking a little bit further back, looking at the previous month, looking at the last 90 days. You're going to see something that's a little bit more reflective of that sales rep's actual close rate, because you're giving more time to account for sales cycle, and that most sales are not closed right out of the gate. It might take a few weeks to get them closed, and so that is going to allow that to be the case. So I want to take a step back and also look at how we're getting these numbers that are on these reports and on the leaderboard. So all of this is driven by the statuses, which are linked to your different stages. So the stages in ProLine are all customizable, so we can go look at those. But because they're customizable, we have our status system, which these are you can assign a different status to a stage, but which status is assigned to a stage, or the statuses themselves are not editable. So these are static across all ProLine accounts, and you just choose which status goes with which stage. That way you can customize your workflow with your stages however you want, but then we can still deliver accurate reporting for you. And so typically you'll have like a quote sent stage, and this is where you have your open status. And what this open status does is it marks those projects as open, which then for reporting is reflecting as a new open opportunity. Once you send a quote, so until you send that quote, it's just a lead. And we do have the inspection status too, but inspection, so you have leads, and then you have leads that are scheduled for or have had an inspection, right? But until they get that quote from you, they're not an open opportunity. They have not been presented with a price yet. Once they get presented with a price and they have the opportunity to work with you, they're now an open opportunity. And so now they're factoring into the close rate. And then once they go through and they become a 1 status, which typically when they sign a quote, they're going to move to a 1 approved stage. And again, all this is customizable, but this status that's associated is what's driving the reporting. So for close rate, we're looking at, say, if we're looking at the past 30 days, for all projects that became open opportunities, so they hit this quote sent stage, that have since become 1, so they went here first and then they went into one of these stages. For all of those projects, we're comparing that against the total number that hit the open status, regardless of where they ended up after, and then we're dividing the first number by the second number, and that's giving us our close rate. So having your statuses set up correctly is absolutely critical. If you have these misconfigured in some way, and you've either have missing statuses or you have statuses that are assigned to the wrong stages, that can drastically impact your reporting. So it's always good to review this, and you can, thankfully, you can fairly easily fix this for past, or you can, it's not perfect, but this will mostly fix your reporting just by updating these. So if you had, say you accidentally had open down here somewhere, if you then change it to 1, that's most likely going to fix most of your reporting numbers. Not all of them, it's not ideal, but when you do change these statuses, we run an update to try to fix and reflect that across all projects. So this is the kind of the configuration admin side that's important when it comes to calculating reporting in general, but also close rate. So looking back here, what we're looking at for close rate is we're taking everything that essentially got a quote in most cases, but hit that open status or a stage with the open status, and then looking at how many of those were 1 and then comparing those two numbers. And that's giving us our close rate. So 50%. So that's one important thing here. Looking at the leaderboard, you may be tempted to look at, okay, well, I should be able to divide my inspections or my sold jobs by my inspections and get close rate. It's not how this works. These numbers do not calculate up to this. This number is being calculated specifically based off of when those opportunities became, when those projects became opportunities. And so this is just not, and this is not going to reflect. So this sold jobs, this is the total sold jobs. So you might have sold, someone might have sold 20 deals in a month, but then their close rate could still be very low because those deals all might have been from previous periods. And that is correct. That is the correct, as we went over before, that is correct for close rate because it allows that comparison between sales reps for the given period. So hopefully this is helpful when it comes to understanding close rate and why it's calculated the way it is. It is definitely something that has some confusion surrounding it. It's very tempting to want to calculate and try to factor in all jobs sold within the current period for close rate, because then you feel like, oh, I can move this number just by selling more jobs. I can go talk to these people that I sent quotes to months prior, and then I can move up my close rate in the current period. You are impacting your close rate, but you're impacting your close rate back when those opportunities became opportunities, and that is key. Because that's what close rate is for. It's not. It's for being able to compare your organization against other organizations or individual reps for a given period, and so it has to be fair.